So here we are. We finally did all the parts I wanted to explain for this first course of Blender. So basically, we saw a lot of things if you never touched 3D before, and if you did, at least now you know a lot more about Blender. We went from discovering the interface to actually using it to modify objects and create existing objects that we could find on the website of Le Manouche. And through those exercises, you learned how to model, have good reflex on finding the right topology for what you're doing, as well as understanding the shapes and basically getting where you want based on just pictures. The next step for you, I would say, is to actually get more and more autonomous and getting to do your own designs by yourself. But this would be also the purpose of the next courses, to give you more and more autonomy. But at least I hope you learned a lot about Blender in general on this one. And also you didn't learn only molding, but also the basics of rendering, so that you can even present your own projects with quality renders to put in a presentation or anything. Just to end this course, I would like to show you some completely random tips of all kinds of tips concerning Blender. And so this is what we will do here. One of the first tip, and this is really random, is when you want to do some cool looking features on your designs, maybe you want to use something called the wireframe modifier. So you can find it in modifier, you know how to get there already. And this will basically highlight your topology by creating mesh around it, so that it gives thickness to your topology basically. And and this can be a nice way to do something more technical and give some kind of structure, a wireframe structure that you could use for your own designs or existing designs. I don't use it a lot, but I feel like for this specific purpose and use, it's really a great tool, and you can then mix it with stuff like the subdivision surface, and you can get to pretty interesting results, even though it can look quite weird. But yeah, this was one. The next tip we will see is an easy one. You can just take a box or anything and just put the subdivision surface on it. And I want to show you that you can use, wait, let me display the screencast. You can use the crease uh, within your viewport, Shift-E, and then dragging your mouse away as if it was a scale. And this will basically help you making edges a bit more sharp. Let me smooth this for you. Yeah. And even though I really hate the quality of the normals it gives, as you can see there is this weird gradient. Um, this is quite useful when you are like in a concept phase and you want to have just like sharp lines somewhere, because yeah, it's super fast. You can control with as if it was a scale, so you can put more or less, and it gives you a proper like blended sharp that is quite cool. But again, I don't recommend that for a really good model, because this would need a lot of work after. But if you're in early concept phase, it can be really useful to go fast and define like some, yeah, lines you want on your model. So I think this could be a nice one to know. The next one happens in the browser, the web browser. It's basically the fact that on Blender's official documentation, you can find, if you just type in EV limitations, you can find one full page just dedicated to how EV is limited because it's going for performances instead of realism. And so all the optimization and the problem it creates. So it tells you like the number of light you can have, how the shadow are done, and what can be a problem, what the screen space for the reflection, for example, can bring, and the fact that only one refraction can be done, the fact that there is all these kinds of things that make EV not as realistic as cycles. And basically, I think that this page is one of the most useful one in the Blender manual because it tells you exactly what you shouldn't even try to do because it just doesn't work. And so then you can find like workarounds to actually being able to have something more realistic. And those workaround can be via advanced shaders or by baking stuff or using specific textures that you paint yourself. And there is a lot of ways to do those that we will see in the next courses. But at least I think it's a good thing for you to just dive into this one and see how you can try to work with that. Again, we just saw cycles in this course, but you will probably naturally tend to try to use Eevee, which is a really great renderer. I use it all the time because it's so fast and quite good quality. But yeah, just keep in mind all of these limitations and get to know them because you won't be able to do anything about that but finding workarounds. So yeah, I think it's a really great page and I encourage you to check it. Another tip, and this is more about like developing your workflow and your process, uh, is just that if you go on the internet and on Gumroad, you can find my page where I'm sharing some tools that I do. It's basically stuff that I developed for myself, and I was just using them. And at some point, I was just thinking that it would be cool if everyone could use them because it's really helped me in terms of efficiency. And so there are two different ones. The first one is like a pack of procedural shaders, totally procedural, so there is no texture or nothing. It's just done within the software, and it's focused for automotive use. But maybe you can find something that you would like there. But the one that is more important for me in terms of efficiency is the marking menus. If you're already familiar with Alias, you probably know those, which are basically like super fast menu that you can call with Control and Shift, and that lets you access a variety of tools so that you don't have to search for the shortcut or search for the menu. You can just jump from tools to tool just by using those. I can show you quickly. Um, Basically, you have like three different menus on the three different buttons, and those are like context dependent. So if I do pick vertex, I will go in edit mode, and then the menu will change, like this one for example. If I go back, the middle mouse button gives me this in object mode, and if I go in edit mode, then it gives me that, which is tools dependent and on the mode, and that are just like, yeah, to make faces, slide vertices and stuff like that. And maybe it's not the tool that you need, but at least I think it's really useful and helps you going really fast in your modeling. So I encourage you to go for these ones. It's free, you don't have to pay anything. But again, it's just about if you want or not. And then the last thing that I would encourage you to consider to develop your workflow is actually the fact that in all the course we worked with these colors, and I hate to have the mesh in black because I feel like you can quickly get lost, especially if you have like a dark environment or something. Like I don't know, if I go for these, um, looking there, it can easily get tricky to know where you have points. Yeah, this is not actually a good example, but depending on the shader, you would see it quite a lot. Um, and this is something I really like to change. So if you go here in the preferences, you can go in theme, 3D viewport. I encourage you to just select a few points, like a face basically, so that you will be able to see all the changes you do. And I like to change the wire, oops, sorry, the wire edit to some really saturated green, because mainly because I remember a class in high school about optics, and we learned that green is the color that is the easiest to see. So since then I just put that everywhere to for the things I want to know where they are, like the things I want to see and keep in my view. And so then you can change also the color for selected edge. I like to go for a big contrast by putting some kind of pink or red. And then I usually change the vertices, which are here, um, here, the vertices to some kind of blue, lighter, because my the background is a bit more gray. And just by changing that, I feel like it's way easier to read your object and to actually modify it and interact with it. So yeah, this is probably the tip that I would encourage you the most to try, because for me the black one is really not good. Like, you don't really see where the points are and you get lost. And I don't know, I prefer this one, which is super saturated and super visible, but at least you know where you're working and what you're doing. So I feel like it's better. Also, if you want, you can change here in theme space and then gradient colors. You can change the background of your viewport by going for like a linear gradient, and then you can change the two colors that you have to make some kind of different mood. You can have a vignette, which will, yeah, do exactly what it says. It's just a vignetting. Um, and yeah, I feel like tweaking those settings you can spend like hours, because basically you can change every single color of the interface, and you can change the size of the text and the opacity and everything. So it can take a lot of time, but at least in the 3D viewport, I think it's really important to make sure that it's visually impactful and you can easily see what you're doing, so that you never get lost in your own work. And yeah, I would really encourage you to go for this. Nouvelle conclusion. So, global conclusion on all the course. Well, I hope it was a lot of fun for you. It was a pleasure for me to show you all of these tips and tools and how to do things in Blender, because really I think it's a great software, and right now it's really relevant to get to learn it, and I hope it will give you a lot of creative freedom in your work. We went from learning the interface of Blender to actually going for more in-depth things as doing renders. And on the way, we learned modeling through different exercises of objects we could find on Le Manouche. Uh, this was quite a complete menu, let's say, and I hope it was not too much for you, not too overwhelming. I like to put a lot of informations, but I hope it was not overwhelming for you and that you had no problem following this course. Keep in mind that this was just the basics. And so the goal here was just to give you enough autonomy so that you can develop your own project. And I hope you will. If you want to go further, the community is a great place to find a lot of answers. Like the community is so big of Blender that most probably the problem you will encounter already got solved somewhere on a forum. So really don't hesitate to search for everything anytime you have a problem, and you will find the answer in 2 minutes. And if you get to a point where you don't find the answers, then you are pretty good at Blender already. Uh, Also, to go further, we will have another course that will come on Le Manouche. Two other courses actually. One about creative process directly in Blender, no sketches, just defining packages and going for creativity, going for different versions, preparing a review for a manager or just presentation to someone. And so it will be about advanced surfacing, real-time rendering, and all kind of crispy stuff to learn, as well as a third course about just nerdy stuff, Python scripting, animation, rigging, drivers, procedural shading, etc. Like a lot of fun, even though it sounds complicated, actually it's just a lot of fun. And also to go further, I encourage you to do your own things, like just take Blender, start from scratch, do some stuff, do the project you already did, take old sketches, do a lot of things. Like it's a lot of fun and there is no reason not to try. So just go for it and you will learn a lot on the way. Also to end this, maybe you have some question that you didn't find the answers, or maybe you were expecting something different. So please don't hesitate to give me a feedback or just to contact me as much as I can. I try to help people getting the answers they are searching for. So you can just send me a message on Instagram or via email or LinkedIn, anything, wherever you can find me. I usually answer. So just go for it. There is no pressure or anything. So I hope to see you in the next course. And until then, I hope you will push Blender a lot and get familiar with it and have a lot of fun. So I don't know, just goodbye.